This is the final video tutorial for Laboratory 2. In this part of the video tutorial we're going to continue looking at how we export the map in GIS. Now we looked at this introductory level in the first lab where we looked at exporting just a single image. In this lab we're going to look at exporting a slightly more complex map which includes another little smaller map of Ireland, just showing the viewer the region which we are focused on. Now we've already seen in the GIS how we have a layer and how we add data to that layer and how that data is then displayed within the GIS. Now these layers are called data frames, and if we want to add a second map layer we have to add a new data frame, and we do this by clicking the insert button and then clicking on data frame. And what this will do is down here this will add a second data frame. It will also add this data frame onto the canvas which we're working with, and we can move that around to somewhere where we actually decide we want to put it. Now any data which we add to this new data frame, just like the old data frame, will appear within this box, and we can control the size of this box and the location of it in layout mode. So let's shrink that down a bit and let's do that. So let's leave this quite small. Okay, so what we're aiming for here is we're aiming just to put a small little map of the counties of Ireland in here, and then we're going to put a small box around the area which we're working in. So when working with two data frames, in fact you can work with multiple data frames, you can pretty much have as many as you want, you need to similarly re-add the data individually to each data frame. Now there's no problem in adding the same data to two data frames, the GIS will just read it the same way. So what we're going to do is we are going to re-add this Ireland counties data set to this new data frame. Now we have to make sure first of all that we are actually working within an active data frame, and what that means is if you have multiple data frames, one will be active and all the rest will be inactive. And the active data frame, which will be the frame where all these tools will apply. So if we choose to add data, we need to make sure that this data frame is active, and we can tell it's active at the moment because it's in bold, but we can activate it otherwise by right clicking on it, and then this gives you the option to activate it down here. Similarly, however, if you're in layout view, you can activate a data frame just by clicking on the relevant data frame. So this is our new one. We can see here it's gone back to bold. If we wanted to go back to this data frame, we can see that's gone back to bold. So we're going to work on this new data frame for the time being. Now that is active, we want to add our Irish counties data set. You could of course just add the outline of the coastline of Ireland, but the counties data set is nice because it gives people an idea of exactly where the area is, people who are relatively familiar already with the geography of the island of Ireland. So first thing we need to do is browse to our data set wherever you save this. You of course will probably have saved this on your local disk or elsewhere. Every time you reopen a GIS you'll probably be asked to locate your data again, so make sure you save it somewhere which is easy to find every time you need it. Okay, so here we browsed to our folder for this course, and we're going to add data which happened in the first practical we had, so the lab 1 in week 4. So double click on that, let's go into our data set, and we're going to add the Ireland counties data set. Okay, so we've now added a map of Ireland, of the outline of the counties of Ireland to this data set. Let's change the colours of that just to make it a little bit more appealing. We'll just make it 0, and this grey is nice. It's good to avoid using blacks in outlines because then the black used in titles and in font just becomes a lot clearer. So if we click off that, we can see we have a small little outline of the island of Ireland in the corner of the map. Now what we need to do is we need to show the person looking at this map exactly what area we're working in. And we're going to do that by manually annotating this map. Now most of the shapes which we use in the GIS are GIS data. That means the spatial data. That means the location of the data is an integral part of that information. we're going to do something different now. We're literally just going to draw a box in the relevant area. And we're going to do that by using these drawing tools. Now if these tools are not already visible on your GIS, what you'll need to do is go to your toolbar, right click, and this will give you a big list of all the different tools which you can add to your GIS. Okay, and once it's open, you want to click and make sure your draw tools are open. So you can see here that mine are already selected. All these other tools, they all do different things. Take the time to take a look at them if you want, and we're not going to use them that much in this part of the course. Okay, so once your drawing tools are open, you want to select this button here, which asks us to make a new rectangle. If you drop down and look at the different options here, you can see all the different things which you can add, all the different shapes. But let's stick with the rectangle. We're going to then go to the area we're working in, which is Meath up here, and we're going to draw quite a coarse just box around the area. It's more just to point people in the general direction. We can then alter that box. You can see at the moment, if we click off that the box actually has a grey outline and a fill of yellow. We can change all that down here to change the fill to having no data. And let's change the box outline color to red, and let's click off this. So we can see there that we have added a box to our map showing the location of the area we're working in. So that's our finished map. We have our counties outline in the background. In front of that we have the Boyne World Heritage Site boundaries, both the peripheral and the core areas. We then have the sites which we selected as part of our two-part spatial query along the River Boyne and the River Boyne itself as a polyline, as a line. We then have all the aspects of what's important in a map. We have a north arrow, we have a kilometre scale bar, and we have a legend, and then of course we have our small little insert map up here. So when we want to export that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, we're going to go to Export Map. We'll then pick an appropriate resolution, which just for the case of this we'll leave it 200. 200 is a very standard resolution just for wanting to import things into Word documents. You only really get into higher resolutions when you're worried about doing maps for publications and what have you. So let's zoom back to, let's save this in the same place as we have all our data and everything. Let's save this here, Lab 2, that's fine. Make sure this is saved as a JPEG. And let's up this to 200. And let's save that. We can see down here the progress bar telling you how long it's taking to export. And then once that has been done, you can zoom to your folder and we can click on that outside the GIS and it will open it up like any normal image. And there's your map.